Good morning. My name is Lauren Heistad, author to the book Homecoming. Pushed through some interesting chapters in the last few days, and I find it very interesting, that push and pull on finishing this, not finishing it, moving forward, what that looks like. I don't know why I share that other than to let you know that it's not easy to take a path that others don't necessarily want you to take, or that even your own inner peace insists is probably the wrong way. And then there's that pull to keep going. That's me yet again today. I haven't barely had my coffee for the morning. Haven't even had breakfast. Compelled to get through this. And at this point, I'm questioning things like, is it your ego that won't let this go, Lauren? Is it divine timing that you see something behind the scenes? Or is it just a refusal to put it down? Probably a little of both, I'd say. Anyways, we'll see how I do on no coffee, no breakfast, and not enough sleep to give me the chance to back out of this. I'll make it sound horrific. The next chapter is actually it's not even a hard one, I don't think. As I said, I haven't actually read these through for a while. Because I find it more fascinating to watch the divine timing of it and the remembering than to practice it ahead of time. Otherwise, you're not getting my authentic reaction to remembering the way my path is unfolded, because this isn't new material. I'm in the second book, Evolving Your SOULworks right now. That was written back in 2017. Which means that most of these experiences happened before that, right? So it's authentic remembering that I'm aiming to have, and thankful for the opportunity to share. Okay, here we go again. Chapter 39, Seeking Confirmation. Now, as my life with the book of Revelation and now Isaiah progressed, I did what anyone seeking answers and confirmation about their life experiences would do. For me, it was a long-awaited trip overseas to train and learn from those I considered to be some of the most energetically connected teachers of our time that I was aware of. I had been planning this trip for 4 years, since my last visit to this sacred land. And in October 2015, I finally took the leap and I booked myself in. I picked the courses where I felt my areas of development needed more exploration. I then also asked my guides for help on a deeper, more personal level. If my unique soul signature represents the combined energy of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, then I humbly asked for confirmation on that inner knowing. I also asked to meet up with someone from that era of time that not only recognized me, but would also understand my inner quest and drive. Still working on trying to understand that inner quest and drive, right? To more accurately bring the messages forward from those biblical times. Now, the events that unfolded after arriving at my destination are still etched in my mind as a synchronistic dance only the divine can unfold. Gotta love them dances. First, I ended up rooming with this amazing lady who intuitively knew she was there to connect with me and shed light on a past life we had together. She knew I was connected to the biblical era and also understood her visit to the college was not for the training. It wasn't for the training, but to confirm my connection to that time. Isn't that amazing? She had dedicated much of her current life's work to helping light workers understand their past lives and to stand in their own unique roles they came here to accomplish. She had been doing this work for many years and prided herself on her accuracy and her ability to confirm and explain past lives. I, however, had her baffled. I have myself baffled many days too. When I arrived, she quickly declared she knew I was part of the biblical story, but was having trouble placing the name to the face. I agreed, but never did divulge my believed dual identity or personal drive to understand why so many people felt connected to these energies despite my own unique experiences and guidance to claim and stand in these roles. I came here for confirmation and reminded my spiritual team of my quest for knowledge and closure. I'm looking for closure, man. I am. I would steadfastly rely on my guides to divulge this information, if in fact it was even accurate at all. Or I would humbly wait to hear of another plausible explanation of my accounts and connections to Revelation and Isaiah. Now, on the third day of instruction at this college, my roommate approached with her conclusion. She said, "Today I watched your energy while you were submerged in the teachings of the day, and I clearly saw you transform into Mary Magdalene." She confidently proclaimed. She did. She said, "My guides also confirmed this reality, so I know it to be true." She continued with conviction. Now, still not divulging what I had experienced with my dual connection, I wholeheartedly thanked her for the observations and told her she was correct. I had seen the Mary Magdalene energy connected to me as well. The next day, she confronted me again. This time, stumped and perplexed. Me too. She had tuned into my energy while I was engaged in a conversation with others. And once again, my energy changed. This time, she clearly saw me as Yeshua, and once again was given solid confirmation from her guides. Never has this phenomenon happened, she explained. Never. I thanked her for the observation and confided in my awareness of the two energies as well. Now, we did further discuss our links to that era of time, and it was not my logical mind that put our soul connection together. It was my heart. My guides played back scenes over the past 4 days, reminding me of my soul reaction to this lady. Like when I first ran into her in the cafeteria, before I even realized she would be my roommate. You know what my reaction was? It was, oh, thank God you showed up. Truth. And my knowing of our connection was overwhelming. As it turns out, she had registered for the same 3 courses I had way back in October as well. She said the calling to attend was amplified that day, along with the inner knowing she was going there to meet up with me. We had both requested single rooms, and yet for 1 week we were paired in a room together. Now, both being master manifestors, and we are, at creating what we desire, we did note this occurrence and realized it was divinely guided beyond our own control. Next on my adventure was a personal reading by one of the course instructors who truly I respected in the field. Now, within the session, he confided he had been watching my calm, expansive energy for 4 days. Must have caught me on a good day. Calm and expansive, that's not always what I emanate, trust me. Anyways, that's what he had said. He timidly expressed the thoughts of coming to his mind. The healer has finally arrived. He softly alluded. Now, feeling sheepish for even having suggested such a thought, he then nervously moved on to the actual reading. I took the time to fully digest what he had said, though. I did. I both understood and was grateful for his honest observations and disclosure. I was. Now, in the reading, he went on to channel my guides, who told me I knew what I knew. I knew what I knew. And that even though I felt scared and alone, I was not. I was told that more of the group members were coming together who understood the significance of this time. He told me the entire world had put way too much pressure on any one individual soul's energy's shoulders, and that everyone was working overtime to help correct the misconceptions and expectations felt. He talked to me about the original tarot card of the Tower. He said it would feel like my world was falling apart for the next while, but that I was to trust. Trust all was working out as it was intended. He told me that no matter what happened, no matter what, I was not to give up or quit. My guides told me I would be frustrated and upset beyond belief, but that I was to stand in what I knew and keep moving forward. That's funny. Same conversation we had again this morning, right? From there, I went and had an energy healing session in the chapel. I cried a lot that day as I released my fears and worked to stand in my own personal truth. I found my day so strange because I was scheduled to be in class, had traveled many miles to be a part of the teachings, halfway across the world, right? And yet the entire morning was spent on my own accord, walking the grounds. I skipped my classes and walked around, had healing sessions, talked to my guides, and took part in my own inner development. I eventually did return to my studies that afternoon and participated in a trance channeling session. I already talked about this. During that class, I achieved what the mystics call direct voice. As already discussed, my occurrence with direct voice confused many of the participants who could not even pinpoint where the voice was coming from. Even the person sitting right beside me, adamantly declared it was not my voice, and that it was being amplified by a divine being standing in the middle of the room. The message conveyed through me that day inspired the group beyond expectation. On the flip side of this expansive state was clearly confusion from the teacher. They had never seen or witnessed anyone achieve direct voice in that fashion as I did that day, without first being in a deep trance state. They even questioned my integrity and ability to achieve what had been done that day. My guides told me not to fret. They have to tell me that a lot. Don't fret. Do not fret. Because in biblical times, when Spirit spoke through the common man or woman, they were not in a deep trance state. They simply spoke through them in an empowered fashion without the trance work needed at all. Interesting, isn't it? What was needed, however, was a specific state of consciousness and clear connection to the divine within. The soulful day of expansion was magical. It was. As I walked through these beautiful gardens that they had there, reflecting on the day and the many blessings encountered, I suddenly strolled through this weird dark energy. As I moved through this thick wall of ick that was only noticeable to my six senses, I was told rather clearly and abruptly, stand down. Stand down. Stop moving your agenda forward. I was told in very harsh, no-nonsense terms. You will not be allowed to speak your truth. This is not your role to play. It is mine. Truth that that's what they said. Time will tell on whether it was correct. Now I could have listened to this dark energy that day and let fears overcome my convictions, but instead I remembered the advice of my guides during the reading just hours before. Instead of running away scared, I basically told this aggressive, power-hungry energy they were wrong. I would accomplish what I set out to do. I will accomplish what I set out to do. I sounded brave at the time, but in truth I had no concept of what it was I was actually setting out to accomplish. Why was I here in this life? Why was I so driven? Why am I still so driven to rectify the past? Good question. What was I expected to do? Did I have the strength? Regardless of my doubts, I did my very best to put on a brave face, push the dark force out of my way, and then proceed to stand in my divine light as I continue to walk down the path. Also notable on the trip was the confirmation that I received over and over again that the battle I questioned between light and dark was not only real, but also imperative to overcome. However that unfolded. During one session, I asked my guides to confirm the existence of the dueling force. I received the message through a trance written session where my assigned partner wrote the words, "Believe, believe, win." All of this guidance just shortly after I decided battling was not the answer. Battling was not the answer. The messages was clear. How to proceed? Not yet evident. I also had several readings from other students who brought through many family members from the other side. All their messages were the same. You know what you know, Lauren. We are so sorry you feel alone in this awareness. We did not realize what you were going through when we were still alive in physical form. We are working to help lift the pressure that you feel. That night, I went off to bed fondly replaying the events of the last few days. My adventure here was only just begun, and yet so much had already unfolded. My heart bounded with joy as I thought of what the next 2 weeks of study and inner development would reveal. It was at this point that my guides foretold I would be leaving in the morning. You will be leaving tomorrow and taking 6 months off work to contemplate your reality and write your next book, was the clear guidance received. I remember scoffing at this absurd suggestion and instead remaining very excited on what new adventures awaited me the next day. Needed a pep talk there. There's 2 things disturbing me about this chapter that I didn't realize were in here when I started this morning. Not only is the push to keep moving forward evident in this chapter, but the interesting thing is that for myself, it felt like I had 2 weeks to finish tying this up so that I could move on. And there's definitely fear in the background keeping me from doing that, number 1. And number 2 is, of course, I'm remembering why I had to leave, but we'll get there in the next chapter. Right now, we're focusing on evolving your soul works. As I have watched the past few years unfold, as well as experienced other people's accounts of this story, of the biblical story, I'm intrigued by how many people believe themselves to be connected to the biblical era. Very. I have either met or been made aware of hundreds of people who feel they are the unique soul energy of Yeshua or Mary Magdalene or someone within the Essene group or one of the disciples or one of the inner sect, and the list goes on and on. If I were to put a mere name to every face, by now I alone have connected with more perceived disciples than chairs at the table. Fact. More Marys than even the Bible can conceive. Truth. And more saviors than any one world should need by now to finally save and change the vibration of this planet once and for all. Seriously. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just pointing out the obvious elephant in the room. It's becoming very evident this story is reemerging in our time to bring clarity and healing. Many people are beginning to understand the significance of these prophesied times. It is a global, collective phenomenon of evolutionary change, not an individual one. I believe these energetic connections are related to the times we live in and the divine feminine and masculine energy blending within. More so than the connection to any one individual or specific life story ever told. We are all feeling and remembering information from the collective conscious and realizing we are currently living in prophesied times. However, I truly cannot deny anyone else's awareness to this time any more than I can dismiss my own experiences and connections. Who am I to say my truths are more important than anyone else's experiences or accounts? And quite frankly, even if my own experiences are more authentically connected to these two lives, then who am I to say that matters? We must still find the divine being within ourselves and perceive both the bride and bridegroom of that sacred union within. Fact. This alchemic process is documented in the Gospel of Thomas 22. When you make the two one, when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the above like below, and when you make the male and the female one and the same, so that the male not be male, nor the female female. And when you fashion eyes in the place of an eye, and a hand in the place of a hand, and a foot in place of a foot, and a likeness in place of a likeness, then you will enter the kingdom. The knowing and understanding I received during this soulful trip was certainly a much needed and appreciated experience. It was. What was also amazing about this adventure was how the entire day unfolded like magic, even if it was not my original intentions of the day. Remember, I skipped class. Looking back, I can't help but ooze with pride. Not on the confirmation I so desperately sought and received, but rather the pride in following the pull of my soul. To my logical mind, going with the already planned itinerary and course selections for the day may have made much more sense. Instead, I bailed on the exact classes I had craved for months and pursued my own soulful day of discovery and closure. I stayed present within the moment, my moment. Some might say staying within the agenda reflects a more focused demonstration of self-mastery. I beg to differ. I do that. There's a lot of talk and encouragement these days about being present in the moment. Basically, we humans spend a whole lot of time either thinking about the past through both fond memories and regrets, or projecting our thoughts into the future through dreams, ambitions, worries, and fear. Of course we do. Now, I don't want to put a whole lot of rules or confusion to this already hard to accomplish state of mind, but I did want to point out a few things I've come to understand. Okay? Being fully here, right now, even before breakfast, apparently. Right? Being fully here right now, in this exact moment without distractions from your mind, is an amazing feat. In my opinion, it takes time and dedication to obtain this state of mind, and unless we're clear on what it means, it often brings confusion and frustration. Even though every single life experience is lived within the present moment, very little of our mind's full capacity is present and accounted for in the now. Truth. For example, as I wrote this one full paragraph, or spoke it, my mind drifted to a conversation I had this morning, which reminded me of another topic I needed to include in my book. I thought about what I still needed to get finished today, which also reminded me of what I could definitely wait until tomorrow. I wondered if the wind would die down later, which reminded me that if I was truly living and present in the moment, I would go enjoy the weather outside right now, instead of writing or talking to y'all. And finally, I pondered if perhaps I needed to change topics because I could not even keep the focus long enough to write a chapter about receiving confirmation by being present in the moment. Yikes. It's a mind boggle, isn't it? Now, this is when I truly became engaged and started to think about what it meant to be present in the moment. How do we learn to allow the void in our mind to just stay present and open instead of being filled with everything else. For me, it takes a lot of conscious effort. Damn it, there I go off again in another world within my mind. Truly being in my full attention to participate in, engage with, and observe everything as it happens in real time without deviating to another flow of energy takes considerable effort. However, this effort is worth it in many ways. First, it keeps things simple. Secondly, staying present helps make better listeners. It does. There is clarity to the term being present in the moment, however, that I wish to point out so that we can truly enjoy the many benefits held within the state of mind. My mind follows energy. Always. Always. If I were still in school, I swear to God I would have long ago been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, otherwise known as ADHD, because of how my mind switches. It does, it switches between topics and focus points. I work with countless parents by helping them to understand their children who have been diagnosed with similar mental agility and flexibility. Thing is, I don't want them to change their children at all. I don't. And I often try to encourage them to follow the flow of attention. Making us focus on one thing when our mind and body craves to be somewhere else is denying the true passions of our soul. You get that? Technically, is this not the exact passion of our soul's desires that we as adults are trying to learn how to follow again? So to me, being present is being present with the flow and direction of our own spirit. Our own spirit. I move through life with this flow of my thoughts, not trying to keep my mind engaged on any one topic at any one time, unless I absolutely have to, of course. This is how I actually communicate so well with the spirit world. It is. Simply because when they want to get my attention, they get it. Which, by the way, they often do by showing similarities from the past experiences. Just talked about that, as well as likely outcomes in the future. Going with the flow of energy within my mind is how I'm able to direct my thoughts and intentions into making positive changes in the world. Simply because when I hear my spirit being called to help send healing energy, I can and do respond, regardless of where I am or who I'm talking to. And that's a fact. Finally, this is how, more often than not, I make the majority of my life's decisions. True. Simply by watching where my mind wanders and what captures the attention of my spirit. So when we talk about finding clarity on being present in the moment, we have to get clear on what that means. When our mind naturally meanders onto something else, including another thought, another task, another adventure, allowing ourselves to flow with that change is more in the moment and in alignment with our thoughts than trying to keep ourselves directed and focused on the original topic, which technically is now a thing of the past. Inner peace comes from enjoying the flow of the moment. And that involves allowing yourself to notice and follow the flow of your thoughts. If I'm trying so hard to direct my focus to one thing in this moment because I think I should be able to keep my mind from wandering, then technically I'm being present with my logical mind instead of my soul. That got my attention too. I'll say it again. When you talk about being present in the moment, we have got to get clear on what that means. If I'm trying so hard to direct my focus to one thing in this moment because I think I should be able to keep my mind from wandering, then technically I'm being present with my logical mind in the past instead of my soul within the present. Go forth and embrace your life, being present in every moment and fully attuned to the next adventures of your soul. Even if that means skipping breakfast and a shower and your first cup of coffee to come talk about it. Your move. Avoid following old patterns. When you notice that you do the very same thing day in and day out, shake it up a little and inspire yourself to create change. It is when you are tuned in and not living on autopilot that you are more apt to notice the nudges and guidance along the way. It is when you are being more flexible with the flow of your mind that you are achieving the art of being present with your soul. There are no words to describe when you align to your soulful life so that your life can align with your soul. Okay, confirm your own intuitions. It was amazing to receive the validation I so desperately sought at the college. However, in truth, I always knew the answer. I always knew the answer. In seeking understanding from others, I had hoped to comprehend why this was happening to me, as well as to find the inner strength to convey the teachings. In truth, I never did find more clarity from that trip. I didn't, other than what I had already known. As for the why I am experiencing these encounters and how to find the inner strength to convey them, in truth, I had to start writing. I did. I had to start writing in order to obtain my own clarity from within. And I also had to start speaking about it to further obtain that clarity and inner calm once again. I had to look beyond traditional interpretations to find the answers to my own reality. Remember that we all have the capacity and capability of knowing and finding the answers. We do. We are all connected to this infinite source of wisdom. Truth comes from the heart. Always has, always will. Trust in your own intuitions and insights. Next, receive healing. Allowing yourself to receive energy healing on a regular basis is one of the biggest blessings you can provide to your own soul and to the collective vibration. True. Energy healing allows a release of old patterns, fears, beliefs, thoughts, and experiences that are no longer serving you and your highest good. Energy healing facilitates an upward shift in your vibrational being and accelerates your own soul development. Healing restores balance, body, mind, and soul, regardless of what obstacles, mountains, or hurdles you are faced with. As a healer, I found I was always giving my energy to others. My life balance started to restore the minute I allowed myself to also receive. Next, notice the changes in energy. Even if you've yet to expand your awareness to hear or see the darker energy vying for your attention or being directed toward you, it is always possible to feel this force. It is. Trust your gut feelings. Sometimes your gut instincts will tell you to flee from a location or a specific person. Sometimes your gut will tell you to stand your ground and face your opponents or fear head on. Whatever the situation is, trust and respond. The first step to becoming more acutely aware of these slight changes in energetic frequency is to be consciously aware of your own energy field. Once aware of your own soul pattern, you will also become attuned to even the slightest changes in the environment around you. Be alert, and ask your inner self where the energy is coming from. When a change is evident, have your own fears emerged? Have they? To the surface, or have you just entered someone else's sphere of energy? The best way to become much more aware of this distinction is to sit in calm repose with your eyes closed and notice when someone enters your awareness within physical form or thought. Of course, the best energy to move into or have sent your direction is always that which is coming from a place of love. Of course it is. Practice this with a friend by having them send loving thoughts your direction. First, by being together in the same room, and then at a distance. Then switch it up and have them send negative vibes your way. Just try it so you know the difference. If you do not have anyone to practice with, just observe the changes in your energy field while around others. The difference between loving and fear-based energies is amazingly obvious and astounding. At some point, your senses will become so fine-tuned, you will be able to decipher any changes in an energy field from miles away. And lastly, jump. We must always jump into life with both feet and follow the promptings of our heart. My requests for clarity required several elements to unfold. First, I needed to ask for guidance, and then jump into the adventure that would provide it. My friend from across the globe also had to embrace the nudges to book and attend the courses within the same time frame. My instructor, he had to overcome his own fears to just tell it like it was, despite his hesitations, as well as many, many more synchronistic moments that took both awareness and faith beyond my own soulful jump. It did, in order to implement. Sometimes we are the givers of a message, a miracle, a favor, or a gift of generosity. Sometimes we are the receivers. in all accounts, we must learn to trust in the divine, both within and throughout the universe, to act upon our insights. There's no doubt the universe can create many magical moments needed to confirm and validate our spiritual experiences. However, I do know the creation process is much faster and more exciting when we actually jump into action and co-create those encounters. Do not wait on the sidelines any longer, hoping to get called into play. Life is the game. Life is the game. You're already a part of the team. Just get out there and take action. Thank you for being here as I continue to follow inspiration. I'm gonna go have my breakfast now. See you soon.